In agency work, consistency matters more than impressive outputs, across clients, across revisions, and over time. If AI is part of your workflow, that consistency doesn't come from tools, it comes from systems. So what actually makes something a system? That is what we're going to define today. Before defining anything, let's be clear about why this matters. In agency work, you're not rewarded for generating something interesting once. You're rewarded for producing consistent quality, meaning that your work holds up even after revisions and across projects. You're rewarded for delivering within the constraints: time, budget, brand rules, and technical limitations. And you're rewarded for making sure that when a colleague steps in, another designer or collaborator, the workflow doesn't collapse. And you're rewarded for reusing parts of your workflow so that you don't build things from scratch every time a new client comes in. And that is the environment your AI workflow has to operate in. If AI is involved in your process, the question is not if this tool can generate something impressive. The question is if your workflow can survive real production conditions. And that depends on whether it's a system or just a collection of prompts and tools. Let's remove some common misunderstandings by clearing up what an AI system is not. It's not a powerful model. It's not a good prompt, a prompt collection, or a template or library. It's not a stack of AI tools that are connected together. And it's not a document where the process is written down. All of these components are valuable, but none of them on their own is able to organize decisions in a way that survives change. These components do not on their own guarantee consistency. They do not ensure a structured and predictable collaboration, and they do not automatically make your process reusable. So what actually does? So here is a clear definition of an AI system. A structured way of organizing decisions so they remain consistent, visible, and reusable across projects and people. Let's unpack that. So what does structured actually mean? It means a visible organization of how the workflow operates. Not just a written instruction somewhere, but a defined relation between inputs, constraints, and outputs. You can point to where a decision lives. So what does it mean for decisions to be organized? In agency work, decisions include things like brand tone, layout logic, approval rules, naming conventions, and delivery formats. If those decisions live in someone's head or in a long prompt, they are fragile. Organized decisions are externalized. They are visible, and they are not dependent on someone's memory. Consistency and reusability across projects doesn't mean identical output. It means that when you're changing client, updating brand rules, or adjusting the constraints, you know what will change and what will not. Your workflow becomes predictable. And what does consistency across people mean? It means that when someone else opens your project, they should be able to see what drives the output. They should know what is safe to change and what is not. If clarity isn't there, you don't have a system. You have a setup that depends on the original author. Most AI conversations focus on the output. How do I generate better images or videos or concepts? The system thinking shifts this focus. Instead of asking, how do I generate this result? You should rather ask, where does the decision that shaped this result live? If the decision lives inside of a prompt, it's tied to that prompt. If the decision is in a structure, it can survive change, and that is the shift. In practice, a system usually contains multiple layers. Not necessarily technical ones, but logical ones. An AI system should contain 5 logical layers. The first one is inputs. Inputs contain things such as brand guidelines, references, assets, and project constraints. These should not be scattered. They should be defined. The second layer is the decision layer. This is where logic and constraints are organized. It controls what tone is allowed, what layouts are acceptable, what naming conventions apply, and what format is required for delivery. This layer determines behavior. The third layer is the execution layer. This is where tools operate. Prompts, models, automation, and generation. The fourth layer is the validation layer. Who is reviewing? What is checked? And what must remain consistent? Without the validation layer, the result starts to drift. And finally, we have the output layer. This is where results stops being experiments and start being usable work. A system produces outputs that are not just visually correct, but also structurally ready. In agency contexts, that means design files that actually can be implemented, assets that follow naming conventions and format requirements, layout that follow brand rules, and documentation that explains what was decided and why. The deliverables can be used by clients, developers, or other designers. So I've mentioned these 5 layers now, and a system isn't one of these layers. It's how they connect. It's understandable why teams think that they have a system. The AI tools are powerful and give you more and more refined results. Work moves faster and you produce more volume with a stack of AI tools. But these tools don't automatically give you more structure or organize your decisions. And when a new client arrives, or a new colleague joins, or a brand rule changes, this difference becomes visible. Not because the tools failed, but because the decision architecture was never defined. If you want a simple test, you can ask yourself, if this workflow had to be reused tomorrow for a different client, what would change, and where in the workflow are those changes defined? If your answer is, we would adjust the prompts and try again, you likely have a tool-driven workflow. But if your answer is more like, we would adjust these variables within the defined structure, you're closer to having a system, and that is a practical distinction. So an AI system is not about intelligence, it's about organization. It's not about generating impressive outputs, but about making decisions durable. So now that we have a clear definition, the next question becomes, how do you evaluate whether what you have built actually qualifies as a system? And that's what we will look at in the next video.